And we are live. While we are waiting for people to show up, man, I don't seem to be able to make this happen. Let me share this on my page and see if this works. And if it does, then it's perfect. I'm learning how to use a lot of this tech myself. And it's not a very good thing because a lot of it doesn't work. So now I'm having to refresh everything and start again. Isn't that life? Life is like that when we start to create opportunities for ourselves and then find out that the thing that we have built is no longer the thing that's viable for us to be with and have. So that is also true of broadcast. Now I just have this. What happens is I put myself on so that I can hear you, I can read your questions that you are asking as well about what it is we're doing, what it is we are going through, and questions that you might have as well. There is no music today because I still have issues with my connections, and it's very, very difficult. Being welcome, Dragana, welcome. My mother, welcome, Mamji, and Glad, welcome from South Africa. I appreciate all of you tuning in. If you would share this on your page right now, if you will, and let a lot of people. Naomi, welcome as well. Share it with your friends. Today's topic is going to be again about spirituality and achieving spirituality. And sometimes we're giving a lot of things to go through, a lot of challenges that we have to face. And when we face these challenges, we find that there's often part of you struggling inside to talk in defense of the things that you are learning about, the things that you aspire to believe, as well as who you become, that spiritual being as opposed to the person before who was more or less working on the ground. Dorina, welcome as well. So in this program, you are most welcome especially on the Facebook side, as well as the StreamYard side. Just type in your questions, and I'll be able to chat with you about some of the questions you might have and answer them. And together we will come up with an answer for everything. Ijona, welcome. So in discussing spirituality, I wanted to tell you that there are several ways in which people can achieve enlightenment, if you will. Now, enlightenment is not a in-out process. You get enlightened, you get out of enlightenment, in enlightened. You can't unsee what you have seen. Sometimes the things we have seen in life are so life-changing that a part of us identifies with that which we see and that which we hear, and also it generates a feeling inside of you and a thought pattern and a different way of thinking that stays with you the rest of your life. And those are impressions from the spiritual side. There are stages you go through, and a lot of people don't teach you this, but it's true. And in the first stage, you begin to understand that the actual reality of the things in your environment are there. They exist. They just is. It is what it is. To quote a brilliant child in a public office. And so as you start to recognize your environment for what they are, not what you imagine them to be, you begin to be more calm and more relaxed, no matter what your situation. You might even find yourself completely in the present moment without any worries about anything happening in the past or the future for some reason. I mean, it doesn't mean that all the problems don't exist. All the problems are in existence. Juan from Michigan, welcome to the studio as well. So you want to understand that somewhere along the way, as you begin, the first stage is to understand and to keep calm. And it's not something you're doing physically, it's something you're entering into. It's a space in which you grow, a space in which you become. Let's say you are a lover to somebody that you find very attractive and want to have them the rest of your life, and would, all the criteria and imagination goes through your rocking together on a porch, watching the sunset, smoking a cigar. I don't know. I'm just making it up. But once whatever your dream of being with this person, then you find out that this person isn't as honest as you think, and that there are 2 or 3 other people who also have the same feeling about this person, and this person is balancing all of that. And you can't blame them, because they really are wanting to experience everything and everyone. And before they commit to you, my God, why not be sure? And they're not wrong in what they're doing, but also at the same time, you're not wrong in feeling what you're feeling. And so that's your first test in enlightenment. Can you stay calm knowing that this is happening? Yeah, because your reality and your feelings and everything does not depend on one person. It depends on you, basically, what's happening inside of you. Excuse me. So in the second stage, you will find yourself connected to this environment that you're in, whether it is with other human beings, animals, trees. At this juncture, in the second stage, you will feel like your soul is merging with the soul of nature, that you are connecting with everything, and you will find happiness in every little thing as well. Now, at this stage, what happens is you go into practices of various different kinds, but also at the same time, while you're going into engaging these practices of meditation, of understanding your body, understanding the energy field around you and how it's flowing and directed, and to direct it so that you are in charge now of everything you're feeling. Whatever you feel, whether it's unhappiness, whether it's pain, whether it's something else, you will feel all of these things, and you are in charge. Hey there, I want to just welcome Dragika and Tan. Thank you so much. Iktimal Ikti and Nateko Zita. Welcome. So on the second stage, those of you who have missed most of this, you can hear this on the rewind of this program. If you're listening to it at this stage, we're just covering the first and second stages of what you would go through in enlightenment. And in the second stage, you find yourself actively involved in keeping your mind poised and keeping your heart poised in the things in which you are contemplating. And those things may be the healing of the people around you, the healing of emotional, mental, spiritual healing. Now, spiritual healing goes far beyond what you think. And one of these days when we have time, we'll talk about spiritual healing, because it's done alone. You yourself, with your thinking, can heal the world slowly. A bunch of you trained together can do miracles. And then I'll talk to you about what I saw on the other side, and then you'll be able to understand. So when you reach the third stage of enlightenment, you'll experience this sudden realization that you're not connected with everything around you, but in reality, you are everything that you before in the stage 2 thought you were connected with. And when you become that, that's when you start to achieve a level of the other, or the sense of the other. And when you have the sense of the other instead of the sense of the self, then you start to realize that there are many things you don't want to engage in that are ego-based or ego-centered. Instead, you want to go forward and understand that selflessness means that you're not bringing yourself into the bargain. You're not helping somebody because you want something in return. You're not loving somebody because you want to be loved in return. You're not giving to somebody expecting somebody to give you back in return. So how do you reach these points? It's going to be very tough. And it's not easy. I can tell you that a lot of people have to take baby steps towards this. The first thing you need to do is to be honest with yourself and understand. If you're in a delusional world where somebody has taught you, some guru that came from here, there, the other place, and taught you that you are gods and you're connected with God and you're creating, co-creating reality, well, they're partially correct. They're not awesomely correct. Example, your finger is a part of you, as you are part of God. But your finger is not you, just as you are not God. So when you begin to understand that distinction, you begin to realize that you are being led by a force that is greater than you can ever imagine. And this first ways of recognizing enlightenment is being honest with yourself, is recognizing you don't have those powers, but they flow through you. That sounds crazy, but it's true. You don't have those powers and abilities, but they flow through you. And you, with your calm and your directedness and your focused vision, you will begin to have all of that very easily. Because when you're trying to obtain spiritual enlightenment, you can't live in delusion or in a delusional state. You have to recognize how really teeny and small you are in comparison with everything and everyone else. Now, we're not talking about lowering your self-esteem, not in any way, but it is crucial to recognize that you are not alone, number one. Number two, that there are so many beings interested in your awakening, because when you do become awakened, you are no longer part of the matrix that everybody is used to. You begin to realize that you used to subsist on validation from the outside, that you used to be this kind of person that needed encouragement, needed hope, needed support, needed all of these other things. And soon you begin to realize, I feel the pain, but it's okay. It's part of life. It's part of things you have to go through. But and that's where you need to have enough strength to be able to look at yourself honestly and answer, what are the things you should change in your life? What are the things you should change about what you say about others and about yourself, what you feel about others and yourself, and what you do about others and yourself? So you have to pay attention to that as well. Your ego. Now, sometimes it's very, very difficult to do that. Why? Because your whole life has been people, from your grandparents to your parents to your um, uh, sisters, brothers, from your immediate family, from your school teachers, religious teachers, and all of that. Who am I? I am whatever your name is. Who am I? I am example, me. Who am I? I am Mel Gill. Really? I am called Mel Gill, but I am not Mel Gill. I probably am something I don't recognize, have not seen, have not understood, and I need to find what my name is that is greater than this, the being that was never born and never died. And the minute you begin to get in touch with that being that was never born and never dies, then you begin to breathe and realize that you have a very limited time on this earth to be able to execute some of the things that is associated with the learning that you're supposed to have. Now, mind you, as you go through and collect these learnings, we're not talking about collecting experiences. The experiences lead to the learning. The more experience you have doesn't mean the more learning you have. You have to be able to extract that learning. If you don't extract that learning, then that experience is repeated over and over and over again, not just in relationships, but also in everything you do, your work, your relationship to others, your family, your friends. All of these are very, very important. The ego, well, it's not a thing really when you think about it. It's merely a product of your thoughts and the customs of society, the what's the word? I'm looking for. The word is the prejudices and the ideas that your family has, that your immediate family as well as your external family, it's like this. So that's how you begin to realize that the ego is really a function of that. So once you kill that beingness or that collective delusion of ego, you begin to understand that sometimes being first to apologize and putting aside your ego can actually save a lot of relationships, and then they help you to achieve some kind of self-respect, if you will, for yourself. Sometimes, though, you don't have to forgive everybody. I mean, although forgiveness is a very important aspect of enlightenment, you simply have to pay attention to the fact that um, you we have taken ourselves into conflict situations so much that we don't realize that the major person that we have to apologize to is ourselves, our heart. Why, I forgive myself. Let's say it. Put your hand on your heart and say it to yourself. I forgive you. I forgive myself for causing you the heart, the pain, for causing you to have these experiences, for causing you to go through this pain. It's not necessary anymore. It served its purpose. You learned the lesson from those experiences. It's no longer necessary to collect those experiences anymore. Maybe it's time to go in a separate, different direction. So sometimes people have hurt you to the core of your heart, and it's nearly impossible to forgive these people. But think for a second, and you will understand that not forgiving is actually making you think of the situation even more and more, and eating you from the inside. It should be this. They should do that. It could be this. It must. They must, and so on and so forth. So try to forgive others, because it releases you from that thought process that takes all your energy away. And so therefore, at that point, you can put more positive energy towards growing yourself in this world. Because, hey, listen, it's such a short period of time on this planet that you don't have time with all the negative, all the people who say terrible things about you. It doesn't matter in the long runs. So what if it, quote unquote, ruins your reputation, makes you look small? So what? So what if you win that battle and finally look exonerated, feel somehow that you've succeeded or lorded over somebody else? So when you try to forgive yourselves, you actually are releasing things of the past, and you start living more in the present moment instead of having a conversation about those people. Just simply let them go. They're finished. They're done. Or if you cannot, if you are able to, then connect with them and ask for forgiveness. It doesn't hurt. So what if you're wrong? Sometimes you have to understand that. You have to embrace your fears, because once you begin, let me say it again. Once you begin this path, once you begin into enlightenment, you have to face your biggest, deepest fears. And what are they? They are plentiful from childhood till now. After you've implemented, these ways of spiritual enlightenment, that maybe one of these days we'll go into. We might even create a course. Nobody seems to have put one together that works. So and is relatively free. The paying only maybe for the, what do you call it, where you put the page on a host, whatever it's called, something hosting. That's what it's called. At that point, maybe we'll teach you. We means me, myself, and I will teach you all this stuff, and then maybe I can disappear a little bit and not be so concerned about trying to help you reach enlightenment. You can do it by yourself. You can take the learning, decide if it makes sense to you, and then follow it. If it doesn't make sense to you, ignore it and go somewhere else and do some other things. Never allow your fears along the way, along this journey, to hold you or to grip you. Because when you're being held back from doing something you always wanted to do, that's fear. And so the main difference between spiritually, quote unquote, enlightened, awakened people and ordinary citizens is they never let their fears control their life or the things they do and the things they say. It's not that they're not afraid of such things like risk and failures, that they develop the strength uh, to be able to embrace the dread. That's what it is to be able to recognize that the fear is there. You're feeling it anyway, but you're going to go through it no matter what. So courage is not the absence of fear. It's really um, the assimilation of fear into your thinking process and then rethinking the whole thing in a different way by going through it. What were you afraid of? And it's like a mirror, a spiritual mirror in front of you. And you see all the monsters and you see all the things that will hurt you and you see all those things that are painful and you see all those things and then you walk through the mirror, which is the most frightening thing on earth, and you're on the other side. You're on the reflection side. Then you begin to realize as you look towards that mirror that you were so afraid of, reflecting your thoughts and your all your dread and all your fear, that really you were not really afraid, and that somehow you step into your reflection and that those were just thoughts and they were your thoughts and you could control them. So strength is recognizing that you're the source of your fear as well. And of course, meditation will lead you to enlightenment as well, because it's widely practiced in the most ancient way possible. Remember the first part of what I told you today, you will feel this sense of calm. How else can you be calm? By performing in an Olympic medal competition? No. Sit quietly, calm yourself. And I've always told people in this way, and they don't like the fact that I've used some language in it, but really, in reality, the reality is this language means nothing. The foul language and all of that means nothing. You attribute meaning to it. So I always say to people, calm the fuck down, because the more calm you are, and that really is the whole purpose of meditation, is to help you get rid of external noise, so that you can concentrate on really who you really are, the real being, the one that was never born and never died. And though there are many types of meditation that may or may not require some form of physical strength, the goal of all of it is to help you achieve serenity, and that's what you want. There are many forms of meditation. Sitting meditation with your fingers together is one of the most widely practiced forms of meditation. Sitting meditation lets you directly into the first stage of spiritual enlightenment. And the focus of this type of meditation is in the sitting posture of the person, instead of concentration in thoughts. You just have to sit in a position and keep your mind free from any thoughts and any ideas. Prayers and pilgrimages also help. Sometimes when you're in a place that has the vibrational aspect of everybody around you, you begin to realize that that prayer, somehow, even the words, every sound has a vibration, and every vibration influences and is part of the non-animate matter, stones, rocks, sand, water, ponds, seas. Masaru Emoto tells you a single thought can change an entire ocean, and that thought is one of love and peace and forgiveness and arigato, which is thank you. Saying thank you for everything you see, everything you feel. That's a little bit of a pilgrimage, if you will, into your inner self. You can go to the pilgrimages where people were enlightened, people were born who are enlightened, and so on and so forth, or even places like Mansarovar, which is right up north of India, where many gurus come to, and they believe that it represents the place where Shiva resides. And Shiva isn't a god per se. It's like a religious terminology, that they use to mean a particular aspect of that state, that godhood that you're trying to be a part of and return to. Slowly, you need to detach yourself from worldly things, because this is the most important thing for a lot of people. And they don't realize that they need to do this, because when you start getting attached to your cars, your houses, your bauble, your jewelry, everything, your bank accounts, and once you become honest with yourself and kill your ego, you will find yourself less attracted naturally to worldly things. You will find yourself, money is just a ways to an end, a means, and sometimes you may need it, sometimes you don't. And so you have goals, and so part of that goal is part of what your ego desires: respect of the community, to be lauded, to be known, to be, written up in magazines or whatever the case might be. Is it really that important that your students think well of you? Who gives a who cares? Today they think well of you, tomorrow they won't. It doesn't matter. Because detachment doesn't mean leaving everything aside to live like a monk in a solitary life, but merely not being dependent on too many material things. Keep your needs simple. You may have preferences, but you don't have needs. So when you begin to realize that, then things will happen. Somebody asked me, so should I practice yoga? Well, yeah, can if you want, because yoga is similar to meditation. It helps you get rid of this external noise. I'm not talking about the yoga to get a flat stomach, or the yoga to do this and this and that and to train your brain. I mean, those are peculiarities of the brain and particular poses, asanas, that seem to be able to affect that energy field of those areas. I'm not talking about any of that, but who knows what will happen. Now, one of the ways that some people that I've heard of in the past and studied achieve some sort of spiritual enlightenment state is to use some form of psychedelics as well. Now, through the consumption or the guided consumption of these psychedelics, mushrooms, LSD, even marijuana is taboo in a lot of cultures. These drugs have been a source of spiritual enlightenment, actually, through all of human history. And people don't realize these drugs have a different effect on your brain, such as mushrooms are, and LSD can create this hallucinatory mental and visual images that float in your head, while marijuana has the ability to keep you calm yourself and give you a sense of time dilation. But people fear the side effects in a lot of these. I'm not suggesting you take it. I'm not suggesting you do it. But I'm also telling you that some vibrations are attached to some of these things. And on the other, when you begin to open up your vision and to be able to see beyond the infrared and beyond the ultraviolet, you begin to realize that these vibrations and some of these things actually tend to attract some of these elemental forms. Now, if you're calm and poised and correct with your use of everything, you begin to realize that there are other resources that will allow you to be able to become happy and so on and so forth, and enlightened and spiritually awake and so on and so forth. When you begin to see that these substances being used have a light or an aura around them, and you begin to realize what the nature of that aura state is, and then you will avoid them necessarily because they don't are not in sync with yours vibration. And some people go beyond that and they become gurus, to be sure. Now, in psychotherapy, though, microdoses of some of these hallucinogens have been able to break through barriers that were very difficult to break through, even with hypnosis. So then again, we are at the infancy point to see how we can reach this. There are a lot of people now working on electronic stimulation of parts of the brain, even knowing that consciousness is not brain-based, we're still using the brain to be able to enhance cognition on the other side and thinking on the other side. It's a little bit complex, but again, with a person who is adept at using all of these skills, you begin to realize that who you are using the technology, using the technology, or using the uh, uh, nootropics, I guess they're called psychotropics, drugs, allow you to experience things that normally you wouldn't be able to experience, and will take you years of meditation and practice to be able to make that part of your life. So I wanted to tell you that because I'm coming from a psychology perspective, because that's my whole life, 40 years, and this is all I know. I'm pretty much not good at anything else. So, but what I've learned is that I'm following an accidental path towards this enlightenment thing, simply trying to understand those who have been enlightened. And I found that some of these people have this ability to wake up from the stories that they tell themselves. My tagline has always been since 1991: change the stories you tell yourself, change the stories in your head, and you can change the world. In those days when I was a lot younger, I said you could conquer the world. Now conquering is not necessary, actually. You conquer the world, and the world being this, what's between these microphones. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Because what you are thinking is contributing to what you are feeling. And people say, well, no, I feel it, I don't think it. Wake up. Neurology, simple science tells you that the feeling state is generated from the thinking state. So if we do away with this thinking a little bit, it's a very common experience for people to realize that sometimes you're lost in thought, you're torturing yourself with dramatic and distorted stories, memories from the past or the future. Anxiety, you're afraid of what might happen because this happened in the past, so it's going to happen in the future again for me. So instead of being angry with yourself and chiding yourself and blaming yourself, I suggest that the label, that realization that you put a label to, call it a moment of enlightenment, and you will change the whole aspect of it. How is that positive? And say, well, you've just woken up. When I read that passage from the book in a long time ago, who was that psychologist who said, was it the hymn? Yeah, it was a hymn. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Huh, how interesting is that? And I think that's from, what's the song is on the tip of my tongue. And it's so common, it's so familiar. Amazing Grace, that's it. So anyway, stop being lost in thought. Allow yourself to come into a point where, as you're meditating, you're not doing it for any particular purpose. You're not changing your thoughts. You're not actively doing anything. You're just there, staying calm, paying attention to your breath. That's easy. Breath goes in, breath comes out. And pay attention to the source of where the breath goes in and the source of where the breath comes out. Nose, mouth makes no difference right now. Later, when we get into absolute practices, we can do, all of those other things. For now, the whole idea is to calm yourself down. CTFD, calm the fuck down. So at that point, what's going to happen is you'll start to wake up to this present moment. A non-judgmental awareness of this present moment begins. It's usually, people call it mindfulness. It's a moment of peace with our life, as it is, the things we're doing, whether we are practicing in our jobs, dentist, lawyer, accountant, makes no difference. Person that sweeps the road, person that cuts the trees, person that or anything, any job. So you practice savoring that moment that you are in an activity, and that somehow that activity provides for your experience, that somehow provides for your life experience. Sorry, your life lessons. And the lessons are not to accumulate the experiences. It's not the experiences are not necessarily important per se. It's what you learn from that. That's important, because that's what you take with you, the learning, not the store of experiences. Sometimes you just have to uh, tell yourself the phrase, this is what it is. It just is. It's called the isness of being. The isness of being is the way to see the world without using um, descriptors of any kind. That's very tough. It's the first step towards non-dualistic thinking, the first step towards making a non-judgmental view of anything. The rain comes down. That's good. That's bad for some people. Now you're making a judgment. So no, the rain comes down. It is what it is. My woman ran away with another guy. It is what it is. My body feels hurt, distraught. You follow it. You pay attention to what's happening to you. My man uh, has decided that this is no longer the relationship he wants. And so he walks off and wants another relationship with somebody else. The doorknob, sorry, the person who opens the door, what do you call them? To a hotel, to a room. If you love the person, then you will want them to be happy, and that makes them happy. Then release them, let them go. Yes, you will be deprived of certain things, certain parts of them. The funniest joke I ever heard when somebody said, "Do you miss me?" I miss parts of you, but not the whole you. That's not love. That's something else. So you start to realize that your needs and your wants are being gotten from a person, one singular soul, and that's a lot of pressure to put on a person. Their job to satisfy you in life. No, that's terrifying, because who satisfied you before they came along? And why are you putting all this pressure on them? Satisfy yourself. Take care of yourself. Yes, have fun together. Do things together as much as you can, as much as you want to. But it's got to be a mutual decision. So your body can be a doorway to awakening, really, because the physical sensations that you're experiencing can bring you into the now focus. Whether it's good or bad, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, makes no difference. When you see the isness of being, it simply is, then it's great. And if, say, for instance, you are alone, and you and I'm alone a lot, and so, but I'm not lonely. That's a huge difference. You understand? I focus on my breath when I'm alone, and I go, "Wow, what's today gonna have? What's I know it's gonna involve coffee in some way, and if it doesn't, well, what the hell? At least we will have something somewhere." So sometimes we'll experience some form of adversity that would hit us at some point. Sometimes we think about something that happened in the past, and we laugh and we have a joke and remember it. So time and time again, I try to get away from that kind of thinking and go into my breath. And as I inhale and exhale, I turn my attention away from a lot of unproductive thinking and towards the present moment. Now, it doesn't mean that all your thinking is unproductive. Today, for instance, when I found my mind wandering as I was meditating early in the morning because I was up all night, as I am going to be tonight as well, probably till about 5 or 6 a.m. I'm working on a project that I need to deliver to this friend of mine who's a numerologist, and I'm turning what he's doing into some form of science-based copy that he can release to the world, and I'm looking forward to him releasing it to the world as well. But when you start to recognize, like I did this morning, that I had some thoughts, I found that not all my thoughts are unproductive. I wasn't looking for that state where I wasn't thinking. Sometimes I need to come to that point for my own mental healing or emotional healing at some point. And that happens when I don't think of anything. But today I was thinking about furniture. And I think I solved the problem with this social distancing thing and all of that. I was talking to my nephews today, and I told them about a three-dimensional aspect of what we're doing and to be able to maintain this. And he says, well, why would people build this sort of thing? I said, well, it's not necessarily built. There's a form of brace involved, and I just put it all together. And if I bring it live, it'll be interesting. So what I did next was to draw it all out. That's what I do. So after I finished the book from this guy that I have to finish, the book, 81 reports and all of that, I'm actually in the tail end of that. I will start to file the 2 patents that I wanted with the technology that I created from quote unquote productive thinking. But when my thinking becomes unproductive, I have to wake up as well. I use it because by accepting my unpleasant thoughts and feelings, say a challenging emotion comes up like anger, sorrow, self-criticism, worry, or envy of any kind, it starts to arise, especially when you look at Facebook and you see all your friends and some of you are thinking, all your friends are doing this and they're doing that, and oh, they look so happy with this and they're so happy with that. Begin to realize that all of that is a facade, an illusion. And if you've been trained in psychology a long time and you look at the eyes of the person doing what they're doing, saying what they say they're saying, and all of that, there is massive unhappiness and depression that's shining through. And I see it all the time. What a farce to be able to say to people, oh, I'm here, I'm experiencing it with this. Why do you even need to do that if you're really experiencing that? Why do you need validation of any kind from anyone? Look at my place, look at my room, look at my vagina, look at my da-da-da. It's like, what the hell? For what? Just relax and be yourself is very important. So sometimes, though, unpleasant feelings come. You need to treat those unpleasant feelings in a pleasant way, like they're a guest. They're not going to stay long. They're a guest. And so sometimes acknowledging the presence of an unpleasant experience is itself a warm. That was Tibetan, for those of you who understand Tibetan. Now back to English. It's understanding that unpleasant experience is a chance for you to enter into an awakened state or an enlightened state, because it's a moment of gracefully engaging our life as if it is for us right now, a balance, if you will, to practice sitting with such an difficult guest. I sit in the coffee shop sometimes in Varna. Around about now, I should be there, but I'm not yet. And the country is not yet open, and this country, Singapore, is not yet open. So we're in a little bit of a quandary right now. But when I'm there and sitting in a coffee shop, there are unwanted guests that show up. They're not necessarily unpleasant, but they have a lot of pain and issues and things they're struggling with, and they hope to find that answer from me in 20 minutes because that's all the time they have to sit with me. A problem that's been with them for a year, a problem that's been with them for months, and all the time they have is 20 minutes with me, and they expect a solution at some point. Oh, what kind of a psychologist are you? And you just, it's mind-boggling to deal and manage their expectations. But anyway, imagine they're one of those people. And so what I did was, in as far as the guests are concerned, all my meetings are always at Costa Coffee. Why? Because I don't expect them to be wonderfully beneficial and happy for me. One or two people are. They know who they are. I don't even have to tell them. And whenever I see them, my eyes light up just being with them. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to tell them sad stories or anything like that. I don't even mind listening to some of what's happening with them. It's just their presence overpowers with this energy. And I just listen, and it's interesting. But there are some who don't. And so I'm drinking coffee. And so a part of my brain then at that point starts to realize that I'm listening. I'm still fully attentive. I want to hear what it is. Then I go into the multi-layers and I begin to see where the problem arises, and the situation therefore can be altered if they changed one aspect of their thinking process, one aspect of what they feel, seeing it not from the ego perspective, but from a separate ego, which is the person that they're in conflict with. And then they begin to realize and be so, what's the word? Their perspectives are shifted so that they begin to realize that they were being selfish in that moment. And that somehow you have to, when you say you put yourself in somebody else's shoes, it's very tough to fit yourself in somebody else's shoes, especially if you're still wearing your shoes. So take your shoes off. Prepare to be naked. Prepare to be open with what you're about to feel. And when you step into those people's shoes, then you begin to realize, oh my God, I was such a bitch to them. Oh my God, why am I a bastard to this person? I cannot believe I said that. I cannot believe I did that. It could have had a better outcome. I could have, should have. Those thoughts begin to realize. And then my job is to sit there just sipping coffee and helping them move the thinking into this and this by asking questions and having a conversation. It's called conversational therapy. It works, and they don't even realize that this is happening with them. And when they wake up and they're okay and their time's up, they run off to create more problems. And then hopefully I have left the coffee shop by then so that I can enjoy the rest of the day. So to practice sitting with these difficult guests, find some kind of a phrase that helps you label and welcome these unpleasant emotions. Simple things. You don't have to say it out loud because people will think you're crazy, but think it, if you will. I see you, anger. Or worry. So it's you again. Hi. It's the old refrain, never thinking I'm good enough, all of that. Or maybe the song, Good Morning, Heartache, Sit Down. I don't know if you heard the words of that song. So this exercise helps you to see it. I know a woman who was 108 years old 104 years old when I met her, 108 when I brought her onto my radio program in Singapore, and I think 118 when she died, Sister Teresa Sue. And she always talks about jealousy, and she talked about disease and things like that. And the way she does it is brother jealousy, sister fear never found my address. I don't know why. I try to look for them, but they never show up. And I thought that was brilliant. And so that exercise works. It has a psychological basis, and it helps you. That exercise helps you to see that unpleasant emotions are not permanent residents in your life, but simply temporary visitors in your life. By tolerating them, you open the door to investigating them more fully, and then you begin to realize. You see, all of this can be very practical, and if you study how the brain operates, you study how thought processes influence your outcomes in daily life, then you begin to realize slowly but surely you'll start to practice this thing called self-compassion. Yes, metta, they call it, compassion for others. But what about yourself? You see, every moment that we truly feel kind and friendly towards ourselves, not just to others, as dust in this room. Every time you feel the compassion towards yourself, this kind feeling, this friendly feeling, it's a moment that you experience what is called freedom from suffering. And that's what this is. Enlightenment, awakening, is a form of liberation. Liberation from the prisons of your mind, liberation from the prisons of your heart, liberation from the prisons of your soul. But unfortunately, most of us have an inner critic that can bombard us with devastating criticism. Our self-criticism is worse on ourselves than people do to themselves. So when you confront your own inner critic, then you begin to realize how much you are blaming yourself, for your chronic illness. You add a mental suffering package to a physical pain. And so when you begin to wake up and you start to see that this suffering that you were imposing on yourself, physical self as well, then you begin to start thinking that you are a decent person. You don't deserve this kind of treatment from yourself to yourself. And you think to yourself, I can't think of a better phrase to memorize, than what I just said to you. I'm a decent person. I don't deserve this kind of treatment from myself. Say it often, say it a lot. And then you begin to realize that the diseases that you've experienced in the past will start to melt away. You'll be kinder to yourselves. You'll be kinder to yourselves. And at the same time, you begin to experience a little bit more joy, no matter what you go through. Say, for instance, this Friday, I'm going to go meet my cardiologist again. Why? Because there was a procedure that needed to do after they did the opening up of my hoo-ha and all of this other stuff. And we couldn't do it because of the COVID and everything else. So it's long overdue. And I'm told I will die if I don't do it. So I might, not will. And so on the 5th, I don't know what day that is, maybe Monday or Tuesday, I'm not sure, of this October, I have to undergo this procedure. So I'll be missing in action for a little bit. And if I live and come back, then we continue talking about what we're talking about. But did I create it? Maybe I didn't take care of myself enough. Maybe I didn't take care of what I ate and how I ate and da-da-da-da-da and this and this. It's not overeating. What it is the wrong kind of food, quote unquote wrong. Doesn't help the body. I mean, when you want to have joy and eating cake and chocolate and what have you, but also at the same time you have to sink into vegetables and fruits more. So I need to turn that around a little bit, and not so much meat. See, people ask me if I'm a vegetarian. I said no, but I do eat vegetarian. So who knows? The cows, yeah, I think they don't mind, but I will not go out and kill one. It's not my path. So I don't want to make that a part of that thing. And what happens is you don't want to start judging yourself. You see, this is the main thing. Don't start judging yourself. And the next thing, if you want to achieve enlightenment, don't judge other people. There's a distinction between assessing others and judging others. There's a little bit of a difference. And enlightened people tend to do one more than the other. Assessing is a very neutral. We all have a brain. We can assess a situation. So we size up people. It's a skill that's necessary for survival. Doctors need it as well. And I have a very close friend in a woman who can't decide if she's a doctor or a spiritual guru or a healer with energies or a singer. She's good at everything in Barna, but now she's back in England, I think. Who knows? With this virus thing, she's probably back in England. Her name is Nisha. And she, as a doctor, needs to assess a person's situation. She's not judging, she's assessing. Dentists do the same thing. Accountants do the same thing. Everybody who has a brain thinks the same thing because that's what the brain is for. But when you overstep that, that necessary skill for survival, judging adds a standard of how we think they should be, or they must be, and so on and so forth. And we want to eliminate that. We want to eliminate that from the mix. Why doesn't he lose weight? Somebody would say. She's a thoughtless person. So to counter the habit of judging, you use this interesting idea of a daily practice, which is also very useful in most of my practice with when I used to counsel people. And when you leave the house, you're in your safe place, and you leave the house or your office, use the cue of your hand on the doorknob, or the cue of your hand on the doorknob, to remind you to approach other people in a very friendly and open-hearted way. So you're in your office or in your home, where you don't have to think about judging anybody, because judging is that emotional aspect that you put on them, that should, could, would, must, ought to. You take all that back, and the minute you leave your house, turn the doorknob and tell yourself this, that you must approach people in a very friendly and open-hearted way and be non-judgmental. And the way to do that is simply assess, but don't judge. Sometimes a person dressed in a very odd way, smells a little bit bad, and so on and so forth, maybe just having a tough time. So don't judge the book by what you see or the cover, and just say, poor thing, and see it for what it is. Yes, assessment, they're dirty. Assessment, they smell. Assessment, they're loud. Assessment, yes, and that's okay. That's them. And if you want to really help so that you don't fall into judgment, make life easier for them. Take them to a shower. Give them a meal. Bring them to a restaurant. Give them what they need, and so on and so forth. And you'll encounter many possibilities to do that as well. And while you do that, as you're leaving the room, your house, sorry, you need to wake up slowly. Not suddenly, but because nobody will recognize you, but wake up slowly. Even you might not recognize yourself. You need to wake up slowly from this thing that is called envy, jealousy, resentment, that person should have been mine instead of whatever makes them happy. That's it. That's fine. Or I wish I had their jet, their what else do people have? Yachts. Damn, I forgot what people have. Buildings, houses, whatever. I wish I had their wife, their husband, their whatever, their boyfriend, girlfriend, and so on and so forth. So you see because these two mental states, envy and resentment, are really the source of suffering for a lot of people, and people don't realize that. They really are. When you do a comparison, it's part of this cognitive distortion of the 12, 15 cognitive distortions that we have in cognitive behavioral therapy. You begin to realize that this distortion doesn't allow you to be fully appreciative or to experience an appreciative joy for another person or another person's good fortune. And it takes practice. It's not easy. It takes a lot of practice to be fully happy for someone Even though, let's say you're buying a lottery ticket in $2, whatever, $10, I have no idea, and other people have bought the same lottery ticket, but somebody wins this lottery ticket, but now you're envious. You wish you had, and this person wins $20 million, and so now they quit work and the da 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 da. And that should have been me. It shouldn't. They don't deserve it. That's suffering. That's pain, and you're rehashing it over and over again. But if you can imagine that that person was you, and you had won, other people will feel bad around you. Yeah, and your job is not to lord it over them. Your job is to like a practice. If you want, if you can, share. Because hey, before you had zero, why not share what it is you have? And make other people happy. Give as part of your life habit. And so it can be an antitoxin, really, in your life to all of these poisons of envy and resentment. But be happy for others when they get a promotion, when they find a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or a camel. I'm not making any judgments. You may like a camel better, preferably the 2-hump ones, so that your life is much happier. Don't know, have no clue. So regardless, I don't know what your needs are, but you have to realize that if you're happy for others, not just your brother, sister, mother, father, uncle, aunt, but people, friends, people not related to you. And to develop this habit, make intentional choice to rejoice in the good fortune of others. Say to them, I'm so happy for you. Oh my God, that you won this medal, that you won this accolade, that you are now on the TV show and you have this big hoo-ha thing happening for you. That's amazing. And be genuine about it. And at that point, you begin to realize that you are no longer centered on material things. You're no longer necessary for you to be able to want for things that other people are also wanting for. Then you separate yourself from all of humanity. So you begin to cultivate this thing called wisdom. There are many wisdom practices. I'm not the only one that's teaching. There's a lot of people teaching wisdom in the world. And again, how do you know which one is teaching the true wisdom or the true path of enlightenment? Well, I think a great man 2,000 years ago in the deserts of Jerusalem said this when he was asked, how do we know, Master? How do we know if any of these teachers are good and they know what they're doing? And he said quietly to his flock, by their fruits you will know them. What does that mean? That means look at what they're doing. Look at how they're feeling. Look at the things they're saying. Look at pay attention to the emotional states that they're in. Are they laughing or crying most of the time? Are they having fun, or what is the opposite of fun? It's been a long time. I think I need to be in a relationship to experience what the opposite of fun is. Joke. I don't know what the opposite of fun is. If somebody can help me there, what's the opposite of fun? Try what I cook, you'll be skinny. Really? Yeah. You mean I may not want to eat it again? Or what do you mean, what you cook? Okay. Maybe I might be persuaded if you cook naked or something. I'm not sure. So if you know the word for the opposite of fun, please let me know. I'm curious now. The brain is spiraling in that direction. So when you start to say this liberating statement that is true, awakening, is waking up to a peace and a well-being that aren't dependent on whether a particular moment is pleasant or unpleasant. Say to yourself, I am waking up, because it's a process. It's not done and then that's it. You have to do it every day. just like you have to shower every day, like you have to eat every day. So waking up, say, I am waking up to a peace and well-being that aren't dependent on whether a particular moment is pleasant or unpleasant. And you see what a relief it is to tell yourself this other statement that is easier if you want. I don't need for my life to be perfect for me to be at peace. Say it, write it down, if you will, right now. Put it on your mirror. I don't need my life to be perfect to be at peace. When you realize the truth of that, you are on the path of enlightenment. Boredom. I like Nisha. This is Nisha Rani. This is the one I'm talking about. Her singing is amazing. She's an amazing singer. You will listen transfixed to her as well. And her voice is very soothing. And one of the few people I actually love sitting with in a coffee shop, just to let you know. And Iktimal says, no, I cook so healthy food. Just as soon as you say healthy food, I go, yo, why? Because most healthy food don't taste good. And I don't know why that is, Abida, how are you? Says hello. My father is watching. Hey, Papaji, how are you? And my son, let's see, where the hell is my son? He's not showing up today. Wow, there's so many comments I haven't been paying attention to. I've just been lost in thought. I'm so sorry. Let me take your questions. Greetings from Serbia. Dorde. Iktimal, of course. Hello from Chiang Mai. Hey, Ting. Do you like Osho? What is those, cookies? Oh, Osho the guy. Yeah, I listen to him once in a while, but it's hard to listen for 10 minutes even without falling asleep. And he speaks a lot of sense. I love his logic and wisdom and sort of God is here, and you are God. After a while, you just go, oh my God. So difficult. And I think you reach enlightenment straight away. What about people who don't know what they want? That's why psychologists, coaches, traditional outlets are very natural, necessary for people. It's not a psychic thing. It's deciding when you say what they want in terms of a career path, or what they want in terms of a relationship, or what they want in terms of outcomes with their own practices and emotions. If you're more specific, I'll be able to help you there as well. But there are many, many coaches. Everybody and their mother is born a coach nowadays, so that would also help you. Jerry Yapon, hi, how are you? Oh, Elizabetta, hey, how are you? Woman, you're looking prettier and prettier every day. So the Bulgarian air is doing good for you. Nona from Malaysia. Hello, Nona. And of course, wow, Nisha, you were listening for a while. Awesome. Your words really resonate to me. Thank you for sharing, Mel. My pleasure. So glad I got turned on. Nisha Rani says, wow. Oh, no. So glad I tuned in. I guess we hear what we want to hear. Try what I cook. You'll be skinny. Boredom. No, I cook so well. And Tatiana, I can see there, is welcome as well. She just had a catharsis. That's Nisha Rani. So, what were we talking about? I can't remember. Oh yeah, wisdom, cultivating wisdom for this enlightenment thing. Let me try and finish this thought before, and it's a good choice of words. I guess the boredom, fun, something so staid that it's over and over and over again, the same thing. So if I can summarize everything I'm saying tonight in one sentence, write it on your wall, write it on your mirror with a lipstick. I don't need for my life to be perfect, to be at peace. I don't need everything to come together perfectly for me to be at peace. You can experience peace in the middle of a conflict. If you want, you can think of yourself as the eye in the middle of a storm. There's a huge storm, we call it life, and dealing with other people. And that's where the storms are, with other people and their expectations of you. Because I suspect that if everybody is happy to be alone and loves to be alone, you would be the kind of person that would be perfect in a relationship. Because the choice of person you want is not somebody you have to be with, it's somebody you want to be with, somebody you enjoy, whose company you enjoy. Not because you want them, and they're there not because you want them to be there. They're there because of their own free will and their own free mind, not because of a paper on a wall that says you are married, you're stuck, this is your ball and chain. It's referred to like that. If you're excited to meet this person every day, when somebody asked me, I think it was one of these folks, and I can't remember who it was, who asked me the question, how do I make them faithful? You can't make them faithful. They're not like a dog that you can clip off its balls and then decide, okay, it's going to be faithful now. Then you're with a eunuch, a different kind of person. But this person was a woman, obviously, asking about how she can keep her man faithful. You don't do anything. If the man loves you, and if the man enjoys being with you, to the exclusion of everything else, because he really, really enjoys being with you, there's such joy and peace and happiness and fun. It's not depressing. It's not, your encounters are not boring. Was that the word, Nisha? Boring. Your encounters are just fun. Not because he is saying something to make you laugh and like that. It's because something inside of you just it lights up, and something inside of him lights up when he sees you. So it's a whole different thing altogether. It's nothing necessary to do or say. Just be yourself. And if yourself is this overbearing, negative, dark, painful encounter all the time, then wow, who wants to be subjected to something like that all the time? I don't know. So you can't make a person faithful. So if a person is fully engaged with you and is honest with you, then the presence of somebody else would is an indicator. If there's nobody else, then it's an indicator that they don't need or require to be out of that to be able to do something with you or not with you. So if you understand me correctly, what that means is if they need somebody else, then let them go. They need somebody else, and it's not you. So why cry? Why cajole? Why be so pain and suffering? They like the other person better than me. Yep. And well, I want them to like me. Well, then become a likable person. Yeah, become. Yeah, but it doesn't work. Why? Because I'm showing him I'm that likable like the other person. Really? You're holding them tight and showing them and holding their face in front of you and saying, "Here, look, I'm fun. We're having fun." Really? Okay. That's all you can say is okay, and just walk away. Hopefully, you finish your coffee by then. Then it's time. But I use my mother a lot, actually, when I'm in Bulgaria, in that coffee shop, and somebody comes and I see them and said, "Oh, I have to go. I have to go home. I have to call my mother." And nobody's going to be upset with you for doing that. Hey, you're calling your mother. I can't call her from here. No, my internet doesn't work so well, so I have to go home. avoid all of those things. Should, could, would. Let it evolve. If it grows, that's good. And remember one unpleasant, enlightened truth about relationships. Whatever they are, I will finish that book, Uncommon Love, and bring it out, and so you'll understand, because nobody taught us the skills, what to do, what to think, what to feel, what to, all of that. There is no manual on relationship, no real one. So it's about to write. It's about time I wrote it, finished it, instead of just talk about it. And that truth is simply this: every relationship is a preparation for the next. You may not want this relationship to end, but if it does, you're prepared for the next. The universe does not leave you with a vacuum. In that interim period before the next, you need to focus on the lessons that experience has brought you. If you cannot do it by yourself, with meditation, with calmness, with aloneness, solitude, then do it with a coach or a psychologist or a psychotherapist or a counselor, and you'd be surprised. Try not to ask a friend for advice, because you need to assess the friend and make sure that they are not in some pain and suffering some repercussions from a relationship gone wrong. Hang the bastard. Yeah, I'll get the rope, we'll hang him by his balls. Things like that. You don't need that. That's not a point of view. You need somebody calm, somebody gentle, somebody who is not, what's the word? Wow, it's getting late. Who's not attached to the outcome of what happens with you, but would like to offer you some advice, helping you wake up to the possibilities that are around you. Someone who can provide advice for living, but gently, if you will. Something that you aspire to. Don't come to me because I'm not gentle. I am not gentle. I tell it like it is, and I just look at you, and I just simply say what is on my mind. It's a different form of therapy. I have a knack for describing complex ideas in very simple ways and illustrating them maybe with some examples and stories, jokes, if you will, to make those learning, whatever it is I'm trying to teach you, more memorable and more meaningful in your life. You see, you have to understand one thing. Awakening, like relationships, is not a one-time deal. It's a matter of creating new mental habits, new speaking habits through lifelong practice. When I say mental habits, I mean thinking. What you think about, what you focus on. If you're focusing on the negatives, pretty soon that relationship will outlast you. And so it will go beyond. So even though I describe these habits as simple, they are simple, but they're not easy. And so you need to work at it. Nothing happens. There's no magic pill you swallow and everything happens, and you make a wish. You make a wish, and that wish, doesn't come true, and so you blame the universe for that. Something is crazy. Just realizing how much of your own mental suffering you can alleviate once you recognize your own part in that situation. The part you had in making it what it is. An aha moment will just represent itself and show itself. You may not become an enlightened being, who knows? And maybe after listening to me or something like that, you will certainly have more moments of an awakened life than you are used to. So ultimately, it's 10:20 now. What is enlightenment? Uh, Amazingly, succinctly, to the point, enlightenment is a set of learnable habits that you can that you can use to free you from self-induced suffering. Once you adopt these habits and practice and practice and practice every day, maybe for some of you a few weeks, for some of you a few months, for some of you a few years, and for others, unfortunately, a few lifetimes, you will find that you can alleviate your own suffering. And the most important thing is to alleviate the suffering of others. And if you can do that, the reason I seem a little distracted is because Ting wrote here, Maliwan, she says, I never have boyfriend until this age. What is this age thing? I don't know how old you are. I think you told me once, but I talked to a lot of people. So can you tell me how old you are? Just curious, and I can help you a little bit. Take a different perspective. Tatiana, how are you? Tatiana Vasileva. In a while. Teed in real property. Wow, that's a person's name. How cool is that? So I hope that helps you today. I don't know where my son is, which is usually my mantra in Victoria. What the hell? Varna. And people ask, hey, Mel, where's your son? I don't know. What's he up to? I don't know. 37 years old. Some other women listening are probably thinking how lucky you are that you don't have to deal with the boyfriend issue. And for one or two of my closest friends, I gave them a little card that I found in a gift shop. I love these funny gift stores where you can give little gifts to your friends that are not common. And it has a picture of a man with muscles everywhere, even muscles you never knew existed on a body. He had, and he was doing a pose like this, and it was a very handsome dude. And I think it says something to the effect of, no matter how good looking he is, how handsome and good looking he is, somebody somewhere is tired of his shit. So in other words, what looks good on the outside may not be good on the inside. And so, unfortunately, a lot of women are attracted to men who are good looking and da 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 and this and that. And if you have the ability to recognize the goodness in the person, not ignoring the outside, what they look like, how big or small they are, how tall or short they are, how endowed they are. You can see from the outside. You can't, I guess. You'll have to join some sort of hula hoop club to be able to do that. Then you begin to realize that somewhere along the way, as you want to have someone who is kind, I would suspect, someone who is loving, someone who is faithful, someone who is, wow, help me here. I've forgotten all the requirements that some people have. Someone who is, wow, I didn't realize I was on a VPN. Now I'm out. Okay, this should be a lot better. Someone who is, whatever, you have a whole host of that. Those are internal things. If you ask for somebody handsome and this and that, you will get a package. But what if the package is empty? What if you see, because of the oh, I shouldn't have these shows so late at night. I remember an episode many years ago of Friends where somebody was in the same issue, the same problem that they were talking about, and recognizing what is good on the inside as opposed to what's on the outside. And I think in one of the issues, Joey was talking about Joey's one of the characters, Uh, Talking about the packaging of the person outside, not the package, but the packaging, and that he has a lot of the requirements that this girl, who was a guest on the show, needed: kindness, sympathy, compassion, high EQ, all these other things. And he said, I can act like that. And that was the point of the whole thing. He can act like that, but for a time. When it's natural, that's when you begin to hear uh, the person who is your quote unquote dream man appearing. And at that point, and trust me, whatever you're going through right now is necessarily preparing you for something. Maybe it's a relationship with yourself. So you're not looking for someone per se, because when you start looking, it will elude you. When you don't need it, the moment you don't need a relationship, that's when these people show up, and you be very surprised. And be careful. Pay attention to what's inside, not to what's outside. Because the outside is okay. You can put makeup and all other things. You can clean them up and make them better, whatever. But then again, you pay attention to what's on the inside, and that will last a lot longer. The relationship will last a lot longer. Okay? I hope you begin to realize that. It doesn't mean that you're not pretty. It doesn't mean that you're not beautiful. It doesn't mean that you're not attractive. I'm sure you are. I actually haven't even checked to see if you are. I could look out for you a little bit later on Facebook and tell you. And sometimes I'm very, very brutally honest. I think sometimes it may be a change of hairstyle. It could be a way in which you look, and da 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 da. And if you think that you want to change any of that I'm suggesting to you, which don't do, by the way, just listen to me. And you go out and you put tons of cosmetics on your face, and you put tons of tape. Or I don't know if you've seen these horror movies from China that come up with the woman looking completely different from before and after the makeup, then the hairstyle, then the this and the that. Now you have a packaging, but the person inside is still an asshole, or the worst person you could ever hope to want to be with. And if you show all of this to the made up you, to the person, then they are only attracted to the outside you, the thing that's on the outside, instead of the thing that's on the inside. So remain as you are. Keep your hair decent if you want. Just comb your hair once every month, and wash your clothes once every week. I have no idea how often people do things. I live in a different world. But just be yourself, and then whoever loves you will love you for what he sees inside of you, instead of what he sees on the outside. And then that's not the kind of person you want, because they're also struggling, and so as a result, they think a beautiful woman and so on and so forth is what they want. So pay attention to that. All right. I hope that helps you. That relationship with yourself is the most important. If you have any questions for me, now is a good time. We are at 10:30. We've gone on this show for about an hour and a half. I should call it a night. I cannot play music because of the because I screwed up on all these things. Oh dear. It's good that I am not attractive physically, so it takes time to see my internal self. Also, I'm not attracted to Thai guy. I'm a big girl. Thing. There is not just Thai guys. Leave the country for a while when all of this COVID thing is over. Go to Sweden. Go to Bulgaria. Go to Istanbul, Turkey. The men are hugely attractive, and they find Oriental women. Doesn't matter how they look. I mean, unless you can eat an apple through a picket fence. I mean, uh, every woman is attractive. Just understand that every single woman is attractive. Just you need to find, or that person that you need will come, who sees you for who you are. What I would do, I don't know what you do for a living. What do you do for a living thing? Let's have a little conversation. Or if you like, oh, what am I doing? If you like, come on to this show. See if this works. Yes, it does. Come on to this show. Use this link, and you come on to the show, and let's have a discussion. Yeah, if you're brave enough. You are 1 hour behind me, so that puts you at 9:30 p.m. You couldn't possibly be working, and you said you're alone. So come, let's talk. I'll bring you in. Just hit that button, and let's talk about this. I think it'll be a good thing. And let's end the show that way. Yes, you are happy and you love yourself, but you see, at the same time, few sentences before that, you said, I never had boyfriend until this age. So that thought is there. And that not need, maybe, that desire is there. And it's normal to have a boyfriend. I wish a boyfriend upon every woman on the planet so they can see what an overrated thing it is to have a boyfriend, you know. For men, I remember some men who refuse to get married to anyone, and they want to be free, to be playboys and what have you, because they're built that way. And they said, why buy the cow when the milk is free? Well, and the women would say, why buy the pig when all you need is a little bit of sausage? So again, these are things that happen at this earth stage. But the minute you begin to realize that alone you are amazing, that you're wonderful, and that with your family, your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your uncle, your aunt, your grandfather, your grandmother, you'd be surprised. At that point, you begin to realize that you have more time to give to them. And they, fortunately, or they feel fortunate that you have that much time to spend with them. See, I'm in Singapore right now, so I have a lot of time to spend with my parents, which puts me, I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. But I'm the lucky one. And I'm the lucky one because I get to spend time with them. People I love, you know, just to let you know. And it's amazing. And so I don't think about what I don't have. I think about what I have. And I suspect that if you built up your self-esteem, maybe that's one of the courses I need to put. I'll tell Luke, if he's listening and not coming on, to put it in mind, all these courses that are available for people to raise their self-esteem. And when you start to do that, you begin to love yourself more. And look in the mirror and tell yourself, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous. There is someone somewhere who's going to look at you and say, you are one of the most beautiful women he has ever seen in his life. Who knows? So if you desire that, just say it out, make a list, and you'd be surprised. Within a year or so, that will happen. But don't look for it. It's like chasing a butterfly. You know it's there, but put out your finger with a little bit of sugar or something in it. The butterfly will land on your finger. It's a safe place to be. Make yourself that safe place for a man to be. It's hard for a man most men, and I'm speaking in generalities again, it's hard for most men to open up to a woman. It's easy to do it in a coffee shop. It's easy to do it in a restaurant. It's easy to do it on the beach as you're sitting with a crowd of people and say, ha, 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 and you're laughing and you're creating good times and all of that. But to be totally vulnerable to a woman means that A, that woman has made that relationship a safe place. And two, that that woman is caring, kind, and not necessarily serving. It's not necessary to be a serving wench or a bed wench, bed warmer, whatever they call it. But that the kindness that exudes from that woman, from her eyes, that's the source of true beauty, the eyes. When someone sees the eyes of a woman, that's the beauty. You're just enraptured by the eyes. If if a man requires a woman to be thin, dressed a certain way, with, cleavage showing and other parts showing, I have no idea how they dress nowadays also. But if they require all of that, well, those things change with time. And if they're looking on the outside of you and they're attracted to the outside of you, well, one of these days they're going to discover that, your boobs are going to be sinking to your knees, and you can play a game with them, or you put them on your shoulder like a continental soldier. But at some point you have to begin to realize that the outside deteriorates over time. And if the inside is warm, safe, wonderful, fun, then that's all that matters. So you can choose to live in a superficial relationship that way, and it is superficial, and be with somebody who's always doing selfies all the time. I am handsome, I am good looking, I am da, 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 da. Oh, Jesus. It's like, oh my God, how many filters do you need to be able to sell the illusion to the world that you actually love yourself? And there are many delusional people in the world. So I finished School of Occupational Therapy. Wonderful. That's good for you. Get into practice. My last job was a spa therapist in Maldives. Wow. Look at what you bring to the table. You see, you're bringing to the table some skills that are useful and wonderful and fun in a relationship. When you think about it, that's a lot of fun. If all you bring to the table is sex, then that relationship will not last long. Okay? Just want to let you know. Be happy. Life is full of surprises. Make that not an entire focus. Focus on yourself. Enlightenment, and begin to realize one very important thing. When you reach enlightenment, you no longer are thinking in terms of this life. This is one aspect, this small, of multiple aspects. And the multiple aspects I'm talking about are lifetimes. Many, many lifetimes. Not just on this linear, three-dimensional, dense matter universe, but on multiple universes, multiple dimensions that you cannot even begin to comprehend. So always understand that. This year I pursue a profession on massages. I want to be a spa manager. What an amazing ambition. And that's wonderful. I wish you are. And when you become a spa manager or work in one, and it's good, please write to me and tell me that you have, and I'll come there and I'll visit you, and we'll have this wonderful massage, and we'll all end up with a happy ending. No, not what I mean. You know what I mean. Happier. No matter what I say, it's not going to save myself. So anyway, you're good in graphic design. That's very good. That's awesome. That's also a very good skill. Very useful as well. So you have my Facebook. So do the thing where you... this one that you are tuned to is my public profile, my fan page. Go to my personal page. I've eliminated a lot of people from there so already, but go to my fan page and my friend page, and hit the make me a friend thing, and I'll add you in as well. Cool. So that way you can always mm, contact me when you achieve that. Yay! I want to do foot massage for you. Thank you. I think I could use a foot massage right now. A lot of walking around. I have a lot of weight to lose, but and for health, not for looks or anything like that, just for health, so that I'm around to finish half the projects I said I was going to finish. All right, so let's call it a night. Thank you all for being part of this program on Common Sense. Life is a game of seesaw. You know, the greatest defense in this life against anything from the outside is being who you are. Authentic, real, with no mask. Just who you are. Radiate who you are. And if people like you, great. If they don't like you, great. Even better. So in life, if you want to know the practical percentages, there will be 60% of people that will not like you for one reason or another. They'll find a good reason. Nobody knows. And some people for no reason at all. 40% will like you. And out of the 40%, less than 10% will really love you. Maybe even as low as 5%. It doesn't matter. When you find the person who doesn't like you, go like this, found one. Boom. What's the next? And you're so eager to fill out the scorecard with who you meet. And you got to meet a lot of people. You can't sit still and have that person come to you, because the person you wanting is not coming to you by magic, unless you have this pipe from the Pied Piper of Hamelin, which is Germany. Go there too, by the way. There are a lot of lonely men there too. And you'd be surprised. You have to go out there. You have to be in activity. There's a lot of things out there that involve some things you're doing right now in occupational therapy. In some occupational therapy thing, you're only dealing with old and dying people, but who knows? Maybe there you might find someone also. Who knows? Give, serve, serve, serve. Don't think about the relationship that you want to go to. It will come. It will come naturally. Rena Tay says, "Miss you, Mel. Are you in Singapore? What a small world. Know your niece." I have a niece in Singapore. What niece? Tara. Yes, I do. Hey, that's very cool. Yes, I am in Singapore until the end of October. And if Bulgaria is still closed and Singapore has still not opened its borders, I won't be going anywhere for a while. But I hope it is, because there are a lot of things I got to do over there. Forms I have to sign, many other things that have been left up because of the whole COVID thing. But yeah, let's meet up for coffee sometime. You know, we find ourselves very much drawn into opposition sometimes with one another. And certainly there are times that conflict is inevitable, even within families. And there's only one parking space maybe, and you're fighting over that. And there's only one donut left, and you're fighting over that. And there's only one job in view, and all of you are competing for that one job. But most of the time on the inner plane, there is plenty to go around. And it's more of a game of seesaw. To keep myself up, or to keep my sense of how I see myself up, I somehow feel the need to put you down. And that's what people do. And this only diverts me from my path and sucks all the energy into a battle that often doesn't matter in the end. In truth, no amount of rearranging the world will make us feel worthy. The only response to adversity or misunderstanding is to be more completely who we are, real, authentic, without hiding behind shadows, behind personalities, behind hoo-ha, behind makeup, behind masks. putting up a pretense, to be completely who we are, to share ourselves more with the world, because we want to experience the world. Otherwise, we're always reacting or countering and never just being who we are and excited about who we are. And that's what the path of enlightenment is it not, in the end? That we discover paths and journeys to ourselves. It's not an outward path, it's an inward path. To be able to turn your consciousness from 90% focus outside, 10% focus inside, the other way around. So that 90% of your focus is what's happening here and everywhere. And 10% of what's happening around you. Just look at the flowers in the trees. They don't suppress each other. Flowers and trees, even when crowded, they show themselves and they grow in all directions just to make it to the light. And that's what we're doing every single day, living our life, trying to make it to the light. Thank you for your presence in this show. I really appreciate it. Please tell your friends about it. I'm here to help as many people as possible. Doesn't cost anything. We're not selling anything. You've been listening to the voice of Dr. Mel Gill. And this has been Uncommon Sense. Good night, everyone. We'll see you on Friday, 9 a.m. Singapore time. 9 p.m. Singapore time, 9 a.m. New York time, and 4 p.m. Bulgarian time. Good night.